morning, good morning. I think we are live. It still says starting. We are live. Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Science Saturday. Thank you so much for joining me on another beautiful Saturday morning. The sun is coming in my window. It's messing with the screen, so we're going to have a fun little disco show of my camera trying to keep up with the sun changing. So, this month, we are learning about one of my favorite creatures. I'm going to say creatures because there's so much going on in here. We are learning about sharks. Very exciting. I know some people may be a little trepidatious. I think that's a word. We're going to go with it. Some people are a little afraid of sharks, but we are so lucky to be joined today by a shark researcher, expert, all-knowing, phenomenal guy. We've got Brian. Good morning, Brian. Who are you? Where are you? Why are you? What are you? How are you? All of those things.
Good morning. My name is Brian Laguerre. I am in Provincetown, Massachusetts. It's where I live. It's actually gorgeous out here, too. It's nice and dry. It's about 72.
Ooh, burr.
Sleeping with it's for up here. It's gorgeous. I am a New England native, but I started coming down to the Virgin Islands for the first time in 2006. Then I went to UVI in 2009, where I started working and learning in the Masters in Marine Science program. That's where I met Kitty.
That's me.
I worked at Coral World for a brief period of time, bounced around, worked with some fishermen, but my main project was looking at juvenile shark habitat on St. John, which I'll get to today. So should I start sharing, Kitty?
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited to see your presentation and talk about sharks. I think that this is really cool because I love sharks. I'm sure that I've mentioned this in Science Saturday before. I love seeing sharks. I love diving with sharks. I love just knowing that they exist. And so talking to a researcher is really cool because just being fascinated by them is one thing, but to learn about like the actual research and why they're important and what we are learning about them. I'm excited to hear like what questions does a shark researcher have about sharks? What is there to learn?
So I will jump into this. Today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about shark studies that I've been involved with, my partners have been involved with for coming up on 20 years now. There's not a lot of shark research done in the U.S. Caribbean or the Caribbean as a whole, which is crazy because it's such an important area for the myriad of shark species in the area. And we'll jump in. So, who am I? I briefly touched upon that, but I'll get a little bit more details in that. I'm going to get into what, we've done over the last 20 years. Me personally, last 15, but I'm still working with some partners that started a lot of this research. I started doing some work in the British Virgin Islands, started in 2022. So what's going to be really cool is this is going to be the research that I'm restarting in 2025 in U.S. Virgin Islands. Is going to be the first regional shelf-wide understanding of shark movements, because sharks don't care about borders.
That's true.
We do.
Yeah. I like the term shelf-wide. I feel like that's one of our vocab words for the day because, we're looking at, or you're looking at ecosystem-wide, like the actual geography of where they're going. I like that.
Yeah, no, it's important because these sharks move, but they're also attached. You have Virgin Island sharks that like to travel. And then what I'm going to do is going to discuss the work I'm going to start next year in 2025 and 2026, where I'll be spending a decent amount of time down there. For bio, I graduated from the University of New Hampshire in biology in 2007, and actually January is when I first visited St. John, took a class at Fears.
Nice.
And it made me understand that, like, oh, this is the Caribbean. This place is fantastic. And there's actually a school down there. And then in 2009, I'm like, I need a change. I'd like to get my master's. And then I ended up enrolling at the University of the Virgin Islands Master's in Marine Science program, where I graduated in 2011. And currently, through my job, I'm actually getting my PhD at UMass Amherst in environmental conservation.
Congrats!
I copied this slide, which apparently has a date that should be 2025, because graduating sometimes is a sliding timeline. So we'll get there. The one thing about sharks is there's over 500 different species of sharks alone. Then there's rays and skates and guitarfish and sawfish. And one thing that a lot of these animals have in common, and these are general numbers. Some sharks have more or less, but a lot of them are late to mature.
Okay. Brian, I'm going to pause you for 1 second. Sorry, the slides are not progressing, I just realized. I was so interested in listening to you. We are still on the main PowerPoint page, not the presentation page.
Okay, let's...
So if you want to just stop now we can see it.
Okay, now you can see the entire thing, I'm assuming?
I can see the slides on the left, and so now we're on agenda. So if you want to just go along on here so you don't have to reshare, we'll just watch it from here.
Okay, we'll watch it as in the PowerPoint thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works. Adapt. Yay. So, what we have is, these sharks, they mature late, 4 to 20 years, which is late for a shark, a lot of animals. They often produce few amount of offspring. When you have an animal, a lot of them give live birth, some lay eggs. They invest a huge amount of energy into these, into their young for survival, but also it has a caveat of few amount of individuals. They grow slow and they're highly mobile. Like I said, these animals, if you protect the area in which they are living, they may just cross over into an area in which they are not protected. So it really needs to be a multi-partner, multi-area protection plan for these animals. And why do we care about protecting these animals? Sharks put pressure on the ecosystem, and the pressure that they put helps balance from a top-down effect the other fishes and mesopredators that affect the algae and corals and help keep the entire system healthy. It's like the wolves in Yellowstone, bringing back the ecosystem and help keeping everything consistent. Well, these are emails I've gotten over the last 10 years from colleagues and people in the Virgin Islands. The biggest two big threats to these animals are unmanaged fishing practices. When you're killing a mature animal, you are often killing the future of their pups. I am a fisherman. I like fishing. I like eating fish. I don't necessarily have quorums about eating a wide variety of fish, but there are sustainable levels for all different animals, and generally sharks have a very low harvest rate to stay sustainable. I have a problem with just culling and discarding the fish's bodies just to remove an animal out of the ocean. So that's a big issue. That's where finning comes in different fisheries across the world, because what's happening is they're catching the animal, discarding the body, and keeping the fins. So these practices are unsustainable and are causing populations to crash in different parts of the world. The other part, which is where my expertise comes in, is protecting their habitat. Mm-hmm. A lot of sharks at different life stages are attached to different areas. And if you can identify that habitat that is attached to important life history events like breeding or nursery grounds, you can help at least protect them to create the next generation of individuals. When we have these problems, as a scientist, I have to come up with different ways of understanding what's going on first, and then we can come up with science-based solutions in the long term. And what we do is we do different types of surveys, different types of observations. We do bottom long lines to understand how many sharks are around and who's mm-hmm. around. We tag them with traditional tags, because if you see if this will play. The traditional tags, so when we recapture them, we know it's not the same shark, or if it is the same shark, we can record that, get growth
cool.
rate and movements. Acoustic telemetry is one of my favorite things. That's what we have down on the side here, is we put acoustic tags. And what these are little battery-powered devices that you either implant or externally attach, and they create a Morse code-like signal that goes out into the ocean. And if there is what's called a receiver, it's an underwater recording device that records the tag, nearby, you'll get the presence.
So for our Science Saturday listeners, we have heard about these before with the sea turtle research. So some fun connections in scientific research here, using the same technology on different species.
Yeah. And the great thing about sound works fantastic in the water. And what happens is we don't have to recapture this animal. Some of these tags can last up to 10 years, and we can see through a network of these receivers where they go. Here on the East Coast, up on Cape Cod, I'm doing work on great white sharks. And the great white sharks are tagged with the same exact technology as the sharks that were sharks and turtles and stingrays and all kinds of stuff that UVI has been tagging for well over a decade, 15 to 20 years. Then there's satellite tags to track them and get behavior and movements, and it's a lot of fun. So shark science in the Virgin Islands kind of got going with a juvenile shark survey back in 2004 and 2005 by Brian DeAngelis, Greg Scommel, and a few others that did these juvenile longline surveys throughout St. Thomas and St. John. This was basically the first systematic survey of shark abundances in near shore habitat, identifying a few really key areas for juveniles, including Coral Bay, Fish Bay, Mary's Creek for lemons and blacktips, as well as Megan's Bay, Brewers Bay, Cascade, all containing a higher number of individual juvenile sharks than elsewhere. And the important thing about that is when you're identifying these shark nursery areas, you can plan your anthropogenic activities around protecting the sharks. You can build a dock here, not there. You can protect this seagrass bed and this habitat over here, and then maybe have your boat over there. So it's a way of understanding, being smarter about how we use the ocean to protect the sharks. And how we did that is we did, again, acoustic telemetry in Coral Bay and St. John to quantify those two areas as nursery habitat. In the literature, in the scientific world, we have definitions. to identify an area as a shark nursery area, which includes they're more abundant in that location than elsewhere. It's repeatedly used across years, and they tend to stick around for an extended period of time. So if you just see a shark swimming around the shore, a baby shark, that doesn't mean it's a nursery area. That just means there was a baby shark swimming along that shore.
He's
But
just
that
out,
shark,
out for a swim, enjoying the area.
looking for a nursery area.
Yeah.
And what they do is they go up into these shallow areas to protect themselves from other sharks and barracuda and eels and other stuff that will eat them, because a fish will eat anything that can fit in its mouth half the time.
Same.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, mainly feelings, but that's beside the point. Yeah. One of the big takeaways I found, and I really learned a lot about the work that I did in Coral Bay, is like you can see the blacktip nursery area on the right in figure A, and then the lemon sharks using Johnson's Bay in their Coral Bay on B. The light gray is seagrass, and then dark gray is land, and you can see how they're really using these core areas of the harbor. Let me see if I can. Can you see that Summer's End thing?
We can see it, but when you hit present, it doesn't switch windows, so it's not getting bigger.
Okay. So what happened was, we could take plans like the Summer's End Marina that was proposed for Coral Bay, overlay their plans on the biological information that we were able to gather, and say, hey, if we care about these juvenile sharks in this area, and you build that habitat, that marina, you're going to dramatically affect the ability of those sharks to use that area.
Right.
So that's a decision that we got to make as a community, whether we value the sharks or a marina in that specific location.
Well, it sounds like we value the sharks, not the marina.
And then there was another one, I think it was called T-Rex or something. T-Rex Marina. And,